Well, good morning, everybody. You can stay standing and let's sing our first song, Gather the Spirit.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where we join together to create a nourishing liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world. Or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. Welcome to each and every one of you here this morning. Great to have all of you. We like to begin by embracing all that you come with, all of your unique beliefs, background, lifestyle differences, all that helps make you who you are, and that includes those of you who are in the room with us as well as those who are live streaming with us. Whether you're accustomed to attending or perhaps joining us for the first time, we're glad to have everyone here this morning. So welcome to one and all. Incidentally, after the first service, one of our members who is a retired audiologist said, you know, you need to turn the sound up 7 decibels, exactly. He said, because when you're close to the mic, I can hear you fine, but when you back off a little, I can't hear it at all. He said, test the audience. So how's it sound if I'm moving? Are you able to hear at this speed? Do we need to turn it up a little? Don's back there who is giving the thumbs up. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we do as much as possible to help folks hear. So I thought that was a really good idea. Usually if I can't hear it, I'll say, Todd, do you mind turning it up a little or down a little? But I should ask you. Yeah. One of the problems I have is I'm under the speakers. So I can't hear it the way you hear it, right? And often when I'm sitting here, I hear our musicians as if they're playing without a mic, right? Which is fine because you sound great, but I can't hear. So if you have an issue, tell me or tell Todd or whoever's working the booth, okay? All right. This is, of course, we're still in the midst of our generosity campaign, that we like to call it, where we ask our members and friends to please pledge a certain amount to us for the coming year so that we can adequately budget. And things are going well so far. You can easily pledge online, or there's balloons in the back at a table where you can find a pledge card if you want to do that after the service. But we are going to be having our annual luncheon after this service at 12:30, which is why the tables are out, and we would invite anybody who wants to stay for that celebration. If you're watching from our live stream and you're local and want to come in for lunch, we'd be glad to have you as well. I think the main dish is lasagna, so that's pretty tempting, right? All right, so hopefully you'll stay for that. And with that in mind, I want to invite this week's generosity campaign speaker, Susan Tyler Babkirk, to come forward and offer a few words.
Good morning. So, with the power of community and living our values, I want to say that our community is more than what happens within these walls. It is how we show up in the world. Guided by our Unitarian Universalist values, we are called to live with compassion, seek justice, and serve with open hearts. We embody our faith through our actions, whether it's placing a simple can of food in the little free pantry, like I did today, showing up with love and visibility at the Pride Parade, which I'm planning to go. My husband and I have these awesome Husky Pride t-shirts that we ordered last year and wore. We're going to wear them again. Supporting One Parish, One Prisoner, which I'm a member of that team and am immensely fulfilled by this social justice action that I'm embarking on with other 8 people from this congregation. And showing up and engaging with the Spokane Alliance. So many people are here. I just spent 2 days in a Foundations of Community organizing training, which I have to say was amazing and wonderful to be in a room full of just amazing people, and can't wait to see what happens from that training. Or giving generously to the efforts like today's special collection, which is the Make It Happen Fund. Each of these acts, large and small, is a reflection of who we are and what we believe. This is the power of community, turning shared values into meaningful impact. Your pledge helps make this work possible. It sustains not only our congregation, but also the difference we make beyond it. Together, we are the power of community.
Thank you, Susan, so much. And since we are going to be having a special time to hang out with each other after the service, why don't we go ahead and forego our greeting of one another for now and move right into our chalice lighting. The chalice is a symbol, as most of you know, of Unitarianism, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world, and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
As we're offering our pledges this month, I thought it would be a good idea to take a look at our interesting history. It's partially told in a 1968 book, this book right here, which is in our library, Unitarians in the State of Washington, 1870 to 1960. In chapter 5, author Esther McDowell writes the early history of the First Unitarian Church of Spokane, established in 1887. 1 year earlier, a prominent Boston minister, Dr. Charles Winty, visited Unitarians in Seattle, Olympia, and Tacoma before proceeding to remote Walla Walla, where white settlers were still on edge after the 1947 killings of missionaries Marcus and Narcissa Whitman by Cayuse Indians who were angered by the wave of smallpox deaths they blamed on the Whitmans. He was unsuccessful in establishing a formal church in Walla Walla and was about to return to the East Coast when he received a letter from a Mrs. R.E. Clark, a Cincinnati Unitarian who had just relocated to the small settlement of Spokane Falls. That visit led to the establishment of Spokane's Unitarian Church. Its first minister was the Reverend Edwin Wheelock, a Harvard-educated New Yorker who had an earlier ministry in New Hampshire. While there, he had preached a sermon on abolitionist John Brown, which, McDowell wrote, was so fiery that the state of Virginia offered $1,500 for his capture, dead or alive. After that threat, a ministry in the far west may have suddenly seemed advisable to Wheelock. Our church building at Sprague and Jefferson Streets was dedicated in December 1888 and escaped destruction when a massive fire swept through Spokane's business district a year later. Another minister and Harvard graduate, 30-year-old Joseph Stocks, arrived here in 1892, but died, sadly, of typhoid fever a few months later. A series of others followed, and as we know from Reverend Todd's sermons, the most prominent was Dr. John Dietrich of Pennsylvania, who preached his first Spokane sermon on November 6, 1911. After rejecting the beliefs of his family's Reformed Dutch church, Dietrich was indicted for heresy, convicted in a church trial, and defrocked. A Spokesman Review reporter, according to McDowell's book, who'd lived in Pittsburgh during the heresy trial of Dietrich, recommended him to the Spokane congregation. Within a year, his sermons were attracting large crowds and church membership tripled. By 1915, the large Clemmer Theater downtown was rented to accommodate the crowds. Dietrich was agnostic on God and immortality, but rejected being called an atheist. The best description today for his beliefs is religious humanism. After 5 years, he moved to Minneapolis, I think, as most of you know, where he found an even larger audience. Our next pastor was Dr. William Clay Simons, a prominent lecturer who helped build Seattle's first church and an Oakland congregation as well. Under his leadership, the church lobbied for better salaries for public school teachers, Peggy would like this, and supported the Hutton Orphanage. He died suddenly of a heart attack in October 1920. Several other short-term ministers followed, and the small church building had to be torn down. With no permanent building, membership dropped, but during World War II, in 1942, Dr. Lon Ray Call arrived from Boston, and under his leadership, the congregation spent $25,000 to buy the 1888 Glover Mansion on the South Hill, which was designed by famous architect Kirtland Cutter. And a new minister, Australian John Brogden, succeeded Call and stayed until 1956. And he was replaced by the Reverend Rudy Gilbert in 1957. Some of you, our oldest members, may remember Rudy. Gilbert was undeterred by the nation's anti-communist paranoia, leading the local United Nations Association, supporting the American Friends Service Committee and the ACLU, and defending the Bill of Rights from the pulpit. In 1959, the church was outgrowing the Glover Mansion, and members decided to build a chapel on the same property. Architect Moritz Kundig, a church member who died just 2 years ago at age 98, was chosen to design it. Noted artist Harold Blaze, also a member, created its slabbed walls and distinctive lights. Moritz would later design this church that we're sitting in today as well. At the end of 1960, church school enrollment totaled 130 children in the Glover Mansion. The board of directors at the time included Carl Maxey, the lawyer and civil rights leader whose legacy was discussed last month by Spokane author and my former Spokesman Review colleague, Jim Kirschner, in a sermon here at the church. At the end of her of her chapter on our church, author McDowell noted the national reputations of other church members, including U.S. Senator Clarence Dill and Joseph Gandy, who became president of Seattle's 1962 World's Fair. In more recent decades, our ministers have included the Reverend William Harper Houff, who warned of the dangers of nuclear weapons production at Hanford, and our current minister, Reverend Eklof, a defender of classical liberalism. We should be proud of this rich history and work to sustain it. We are carrying on the legacy of our humanist predecessors.
Okay, please stand and let's sing together, Guide My Feet. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain, race in vain. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. And stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. And search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain, race in vain.
We'll now kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds, and shall begin, as we have for some time now, on behalf of the many people around the world suffering from violence and discrimination and hate, the people of Ukraine, people in Russia, Israel, Palestine, Iran, Darfur, South Sudan, the many frightened immigrants in our own country suffering from discrimination and injustices and violence here. And let's take the usual moment of silence on behalf of others you might be thinking of, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you like. Those named aloud, those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. This is our third Sunday, and that means it is time for our special collection, in which we ask for your help contributing to a worthy cause or organization that is in alignment with our mission, and there is nothing I think that is more in alignment with our mission than our own very own Make It Happen Fund. This is a long-established fund of our congregation that exists to help our members who are engaging in some sort of activity in the larger community and world that is in alignment with our mission, that perhaps you could use a little financial help to get off the ground or to continue to promote those sort of things. So if you want to give to this very worthy cause, I ask you to use the special collection envelope that you have in your order of service, or if you're live streaming with us or want to wait until later, you can easily do so by going on our church website and contributing there. Just be sure and mark what it is for, today's special collection. But I thank you, as always, for your wonderful generosity in advance as we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering.
This piece is written by Dr. Billy Taylor, a noted pianist and jazz educator and jazz activist, advocate, known for his work bringing jazz to a wider audience, as well as keeping it alive and accessible in the communities where it was created. This piece, Wish I Knew How It Felt to Be Free, was written by Dr. Billy Taylor, I believe in 1963, and it became an anthem for the civil rights movement when Nina Simone recorded it.
Thank you, Jackie. It's always tough to follow that. But it's okay,
because it's Reading Across the Lifespan Day. And each month, on Reading Across the Lifespan Sunday, we take a few moments to remember that reading is not just something we want our children to learn in school. It's something for all of us to put into practice across our whole lives. Why? Because reading for pleasure helps us grow our attention, our empathy, and our ability to think for ourselves. It gives us language for our own lives and invites us to imagine lives beyond our own. And as Unitarians, a people who value curiosity, compassion, and the freedom to seek truth, reading is one of the ways we live out those values. So each month, we invite or remind you, wherever you are in your reading life, to celebrate the joy of reading and recognize the real miracle that it is. And in RE, we'll continue to encourage our children, your children actually, to choose a book and keep building their home libraries. Today, we're going to spend a few minutes thinking about our own reader identities by asking a couple of questions. What does a reader look like? And what kind of reader are you? Let me start with a small confession. If you came over to my house and saw me reading, you might think I was preparing to perform a minor surgery. Because when I read, I don't just read, I arrive with accoutrements. Or if I am feeling fancy, accoutrements. That means all the extra little things I didn't even know I needed, but for me, they make my reading time all the more special. Come on up, Olive. Sorry, forgot to invite. Yay! Love it. All right, my accoutrements. I have a pencil, mechanical of course, an eraser, a pen, fine point, 0.38 to be exact, black ink, sticky notes, sticky tabs, a highlighter, green or pink, definitely not yellow, a notebook, a dot journal, or fine ruled, where I diligently track what I've read and what I plan to read next, colored pencils with a cute little built-in sharpener, and a 6-inch ruler. Then I need my book light, a cup of tea, my side table, my glasses, a candle can be nice, oh, and some lip balm. And if it's even a little bit chilly, a blanket. And if I'm outside, sunscreen. Okay, I'm ready to read. My paperback. Trade, please, not mass market, and not a hardcover. My wrists are too scrawny. But then there's my husband. He needs his phone and his earbuds. That's it. He just presses a button and he's inside of a story. And my son, he prefers his e-reader and a cat. So as you can see, some people are very simple in their reading habits and others are very high maintenance, like my husband and my son with all those technology needs. How about you? Some people can read in a car, and some people absolutely cannot. Some people need total silence, and some people like a little noise, a coffee shop, music, life happening all around them. Just look at all the different ways it is there are to be a reader. A reader might look like someone curled up with a blanket and a cup of tea, or someone walking around the neighborhood with their earbuds, or someone tapping a screen, or turning a page, or listening closely. And here's one other thing. Some readers don't read words at all. Not yet, anyway. Some readers are still growing. They sit close. They listen. They watch the pictures. They turn the pages before you're ready. They ask for the same book again and again and again. Those readers, they're not future readers. They're readers right now. They're learning how stories sound, how they feel, how they live inside of us, And if we're not watching carefully, sometimes how they taste. So now we've answered what does a reader look like, the next question is, what kind of reader are you? Are you a cozy reader, a listening reader, a note-taking reader, a late-night reader, a just one more chapter reader, a read it again reader? Because here's the thing, there isn't just one way to be a reader. There are as many kinds of readers as there are people in this room. And the cool thing is you get to build your own reading life. For the adults in the room, you already get to decide how you read, where you read, when you read, and what you read. And for the kiddos and the youth, you're almost there too. And all of those choices over time shape who you become as a reader. So whether your reading life includes a full collection of carefully arranged accoutrements or just a quiet moment in a good story, you're already a reader. And readers of all kinds are always growing. Today in RE, we're going to shape ourselves a little silly because I brought one of the absolutely silliest books I could find on the shelves at the Wishing Tree bookstore, the Future book. Can't wait. And then we're going to test what this book claims, that it can read our minds. We'll see. If you're curious how it turns out, you can find out at our luncheon today and maybe even share a book that you love. Because together, our mission is growing a community of readers across the lifespan, one story at a time. Mission in progress.
Are we singing the children out? Yeah. That's what I thought. Great. As we prepare for meditation, let us reflect on the Spokane Unitarian Church's 1960s credo: individual freedom of belief, discipleship to advancing truth, democratic process in human relations, universal brotherhood, undivided by nation, race, or creed, and alliance to the cause of a united world community.
my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am light. I am light. Oh, I am light. I am light. Oh, I am light. I am light. Whoa, I am light. I am light. And I am light. I am light. I am not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that caused me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind, because I am light. I am light. Oh, I am light. I am light. Oh, I am light. I am light. And I am light. I am light. I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I'm not my race. My soul inside. It's all light. It's all light. It's all light. It's all light. Because I am light. I am light. Oh, I am light. I am light. I am divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light. I am light.
Wow, thank you again so much. The great thing about today is I got to hear that twice. Thank you. Yeah, so this is Conversations with Todd Sunday, something I try to do at least once a quarter, where I give you the opportunity to ask a question or two about, maybe something I've said or something I've not said you've been wondering about, so you won't get a formal sermon from me today. But Tom has a microphone. I would ask that you speak into it if you have a question, so that our friends who are live streaming with us will be able to hear the questions as well. I don't like to deal with church business. That's better for business meetings. But anything else, I'll try to do my best. So just raise your hand. Don Willingham has the first question.
I'm Don Willingham. I've always been a technology buff, but I'm so overwhelmed by your Frankenstein sermon and all the stuff you did with AI. How in the deuce did you get so interested and so that ability that you have in that?
So for those who don't know, last week, we did kind of an unusual sermon that was on the Frankenstein story, which I've had an attraction to since I was a young man, and wanted to kind of find a way to share the pieces of it that were so meaningful and moving to me. And so we did that both with narrative as well as some AI-generated songs that were accompanied by visuals, animated visuals. And so, yes, I used artificial intelligence to generate the songs and the images and the animation. I mean, most people who know me know I do love technology. I'm a futurist. I think that it has the potential for leading to good things and helping us solve many of our problems and create a world of abundance in the not so distant future. So that's where I'm coming from. I had to adapt to the technological changes happening in our world because a part of my career in television news and corporate video production and in the field of communication in general have also required me to be able to use those tools. And I find them just exciting. We're really very close to being at what I call a Harry Potter moment, right? Where instead of Harry Potter, who says an incantation and then waves a wand, we give a prompt and then hit a return button, But it's very quick. I mean, there is some skill to prompt engineering and making sure you put in the elements that you want expressed in whatever the body of the work is, whether it's a song, a script, video. You want to make sure you're telling the AI that these are the things that are important to me. At the same time, loose enough to where it can be somewhat creative. And so that's it, Don. I mean, I wish I could say it's harder and there's something to it, but it's really magic. I mean, I hear so much fear and negativity out there about AI, and we're fearful creatures by instinctively anyway of anything new. But I hear people say, "Oh, AI is stupid." I'm like, it talks to us. It's a machine that talks to us. It wasn't around 5 years ago. It's amazing. It's a magical moment. And I want to be somebody who uses it. My greatest fear is not taking advantage of the opportunities that are put before me. So, and for those who are challenged by technology, I would say this moment in technological history is your friend, because it does make it user-friendly, right? This is basically a technology that understands what you say and what you mean by what you say and what you want. And it can help you create that. So I take advantage of it.
Hi, I'm Sue Stieritz. With that being said, Todd, I'm listening to something right now from a fellow from NAUA, actually. I can't remember his name, and I haven't completed it, but he's going through the history of AI, how it works, the good things about it, and now he's hit upon one of the negatives. And I kind of would like your opinion, just in this small area, because I haven't listened to it all. But that AI will take away jobs. For example, young upcoming attorneys and the research that they would do to learn how to defend a case, and also with doctors and research and prognosis and things like that. Do you not see problems in some areas? Myself, I've had a little bit of fun with AI, so I can certainly see that possibility. And do you see the need for regulation of this?
Well, those are really good questions. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be job displacement for sure, as has been the case with most technology. That's really the greatest fear. I mean, that was the Luddites, right? The Luddites were a group of people. They were textile workers, And when the automatic loom came into being, they were afraid they were going to lose their jobs. The reality is it created a lot more jobs, right? I mean, imagine having to buy a shirt that was handmade by someone, and that's the only shirt you could get. They were scarce, and they were expensive. A lot of people didn't have shirts. Some had only one shirt. If you were lucky, you had two shirts, a dress shirt and an everyday shirt, right? So what happened is they didn't lose jobs. This ended up creating an industry that provided an abundance of clothing to people around the world. So that fear of losing our jobs that is so resisted usually precipitates what is a shift in how we work and what jobs are available, that sort of thing. So I'm not as much of a doomer or gloomer when it comes to the job displacement. I don't think we're going to be left with fewer jobs. I think we're going to be left with more opportunities. It's probably going to shift the economy to more private businesses, more individually owned companies, more individually owned tasks than it is corporations that employ lots of people. So that would be my idea of the shift. But will there be some pain? Yeah. Can tools be used for harm? Of course, AI is already being used for harm. It's also being used for a lot of good. I heard something new about pancreatic cancer just yesterday, promising it used to be a death sentence once you were diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So these things are happening all the time. We see people that are getting the BCI implants that were absolutely locked into their bodies that now have lives and they have agency in the world again, can engage with their family. So yes, it's like a hammer. You can use a hammer to build a home, or you can use a hammer to destroy it. There is going to be some destructive stuff, which gets to the question of regulation. For sure, there need to be. I've been really impressed with the advent of AI itself. There's not a lot of credit. There are more regulations than people think about when it comes to technology already, but there's a lot of ethics on the side of the technology itself. I mean, look at what Anthropic's done just these past couple of weeks by telling the military, no, you're not going to be able to use our tools to survey Americans or give it agency to choose when it's going to fire weapons. We're not going to cooperate with that. And then even this week, it has said we've created something so powerful it could be very dangerous, and we're not going to release it, but we are going to help those companies that are exposed. It's very ethical. Something else that they have done that a lot of us don't recognize is called iterative deployment in the business of advancing technology. You'll notice that OpenAI, all of them really, all the major AI companies have had several iterations of their AI. They keep letting it out in stages, pieces at a time, testing it, figuring out what problems, what adjustments need to be made before moving on to the next level. So they're not giving us the most powerful tools and just putting them out into the wild, and we're suddenly exposed to the worst of consequences. We're testing it and looking at what the worst consequences might be and adjusting the tools accordingly. So between that ethic, that self-regulation, and the regulations that need to occur, I think both in states and on a federal level, which hopefully will happen, we will come out of it okay. So.
Hi. Really close.
There you go, yeah.
Hi, Barbara Rodriguez, a former teacher of teachers, and I'm going to go in a little bit different direction of what we've been talking about. I grew up in a small town in Montana, and there was a church there called the Community Church. It was non-denominational, and people attended. They brought everybody and their kids, and they attended every day, and they built community. I think it's really important, particularly for our church, to work on building community. AI doesn't do that. Technology doesn't do that very well. And I would like to see us figuring out how we could fill all these seats with people again. Because when I first joined the church, There were so many people here, we had to add seats in the back because of how many people. And all research shows that doing things in person builds better community. One reason why we're taking phones away from kids at school, so they're not looking at their phone, but they're paying attention to each other. And I think
So
we need...
Barbara, I want you to kind of move forward, because I like it to be a question response period, and you're sort of giving a
So you want me to
perspective.
ask you a question?
I would like you to ask me a question. And
I'm getting there.
although it's a little bit of it's a little businessy. This is a little church businessy. So I
Okay, I'll hurry up.
okay.
So I would like to find out what you think would be the best way for us to build community, to get people here to church, fill up all these seats, because we know that being in person builds better community.
Well, I would say I don't know that. This is, again, a new age, and we have lots of folks that are live streaming with us today. And, that's good for them. They're doing what works for them. I much prefer a system where people are free to do what they choose to do for themselves as individuals. And I think we want to build that kind of community. We keep doing what we have been doing. And yes, we've had a loss in attendance since COVID, and since a splinter that happened in our church over my radical book, The Gadfly Papers, several years ago, and that has shifted how people attend. But other than that, I don't want to get into that, because to me that's actually a boring subject for a Sunday morning. This is something that's left to strategizing for the future, not necessarily topics for today. So, yes, Jean.
Jean Larson, I want to go back. Okay, I want to go back to the AI subject. You offered a course on AI at the auction, which hasn't happened yet, and I'm just wondering if you'd be willing to open that up to a broader audience.
What was the course? I can't remember what I offered. I thought I fulfilled that, but I had one person who signed up for it. That was an AI music. We might be able to do that. Just maybe have an after church something or a Saturday something where I can show you how to do what I do, make a song, make a video. Yeah. Go ahead, Tom. Yep.
Hi, I'm Rose Rusho, and I was wondering what your thoughts are on the ethical implications of AI, specifically when it comes to it being used by corporations and governments and filtering out certain trains of, lines of thought. Because it has happened in some more repressive regimes, and it has happened with companies trying to prevent people from asking AI specific questions.
Yeah, wow, lots of stuff on AI today, isn't there? Yeah, it is the big topic of our society. I think that there should be, as I said, regulations, and there should be guidelines in place for how we use AI. It's difficult for me to say specifically what I think that looks like. I am, as you know, a subscriber on a much larger scale of the humanistic ethic, which is devoted to accomplishing two things: general human welfare, as defined by Maslow's hierarchy of needs, so the bottom layers of that triangle, housing, clothing, security, safety, and then individual unfolding, individuals reaching their full potential in a society that guarantees freedom and rights and belonging and free expression, that sort of thing. So I think that should be the ethic in everything we do. When it comes to advancing regulations for AI or technology or anything else we do in our lives, it should consider one or both of those goals. That should be the root of ethics, any ethic. So, yes.
Yeah, I have a question, then I'll move up here to Kay. I'm Tom Mosher. I have the unique privilege at my retirement community of being asked to serve on a team of residents to interview and select the next chaplain. And I'm unabashed and pretty open non-believer, secular humanist. What question would you ask a candidate, chaplain candidate for a basically non-religious but probably 80% Protestant or Catholic group of people?
Well, I think I would just ask them that question: how are you going to handle the diversity? I mean, I think it's pretty simple to see what their responses are. Protestants and Catholics can be wonderfully inclusive if you get the right ones. I mean, some of the most inclusive ministers that I have met in my career have been Protestants and Catholics. Some of the most, the most closed-minded have also been among those. So I think you can. It's like religion in general. You can use religion, any religion, for good or for ill. You can approach it for good or for ill. You can use it to bring out the best in yourself, or you can use it to encase the worst of yourself. So I would try to seek a chaplain who is going to be somebody that represents the best of humanity through openness, who uses their religion as a means in which to open themselves to care for others, regardless of what they believe. Yeah. So there's Kay. I've got to keep an eye on the time too. I'm sorry. That clock is way off today. So let me just see. Oh yeah, we're good. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, just hold it up to your.
Yeah.
There
Back
you
to
go.
AI. One of the criticisms that I hear, and I want to know your opinion, is that its bad side is it uses so much electricity.
Its bad side is that it uses too much electricity. Yes. Don't we all? Yeah. So yes. This is a problem. Or we might even call it a challenge. And AI does use it has a lot of electricity demands, and as you heard, these data centers are being opened up all over the country and causing concerns for some of the communities that might be altered through their presence. There are at the same time a lot of advances that are already coming online to help reduce the energy load from AI. Some of those are more efficient batteries and batteries that can store power so that we're not necessarily generating it. And there's very serious talk of putting data centers in space that would be able to be generated through the sun without having to take it from the resources here on Earth, and it'd be abundant there. So I think there's a lot of folks recognizing it, and it's a period of adaptation, adapting to the technology, adapting to the needs, to where we evolve the systems we need in order to make it work. So I do believe that's going to happen, and I think some of the people that are trying to make that happen are the ones who are in charge of the technology themselves. So yeah.
My name's Dan Akrit, and this morning, relative to her question, there was an article on Sunday morning showing a brand new approach to generating electricity by these large floating machines that went up and down with the waves that generate electricity, which solved a whole number of different problems relative to land use and so on and so forth. And so there's things like that coming up. But my question to you...
Just hold it right in front of your mouth, Dan. There you go.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I could hear you because I was reading your lips, but...
I know you're a Ray Kurzweil fan and a futurist and so on, and we've talked about that over the years. And also, there was a movie or a show at one time called The Bionic Man. So relative to some of the questions that came up here earlier, how we interface with each other, one of my problems is my memory is gone, as has some other seniors, where we can't remember names. And I'm looking and wondering about the future, where we will have capabilities coming where we can maybe use AI as part of our biology and maybe inserting chips or whatever. And what are your thoughts about that? How can we improve ourselves? And that can affect the interface that she was mentioning in church groups and getting to know each other.
Yeah, well, we're already living a lot longer than we used to, and healthier lives at that. So longevity is a big part of what's going on in the technology movement right now, because a lot of billionaires, thank goodness, want to live forever. So that know-how will get passed on to some of us eventually, hopefully all of us, and so will, the treatments for Alzheimer's and memory loss and slowing our aging processes down, that sort of thing. What I would encourage you guys to do, or recommend anyway, there's a great book by the physicist Michio Kaku called Quantum Supremacy. It's a relatively new book about quantum computing. And in it he says something really provocative, and that is that when the quantum computers come online, they will make today's most powerful supercomputer look like we've been using the abacus. Okay, so when you're talking about being able to compute on a quantum level, you're talking about almost instantaneously being able to solve a lot of these problems that we face right now. Energy problems, health problems, a lot of stuff along that line. And this stuff's going to be online. I mean, quantum computers already work. It's just keeping them stable, right? You have to have a very cold. I mean, it has to be, right now the coldest place we know of in the universe is on Earth, in these labs where these quantum computers are being, hopefully they can find just enough stability for a few seconds to make a computation. But if they do, that computation, it would take today's most powerful supercomputer the same amount of time to make that computation is longer than the universe has existed, right? Billions of years. So it's phenomenal what we're getting to. What I would say is, if you really want to be afraid, and I'm not afraid, but we're talking about a kind of transcendence that we can't understand, right? We're talking about literally changing our material existence and how we connect to each other in ways that will not be nearly as isolated as we are now. So I can't even imagine that future. That's why it's called the singularity, because no information is coming back from that point to us, right? A singularity, like a black hole, draws in all the information. You can't see what's in it. You don't know anything about it because nothing can escape. When we talk about the technological singularity, we're talking about, metaphorically, a future that we cannot comprehend. But it's really close, right? It's really close. Some people say it's happening now. I disagree. I think these problems have to be solved, and then we can say it was here. It's here. But I have no doubt that Ray Kurzweil's prediction of 2045 is the farthest away it will be. My guess is it's going to be in the 2030s. So, okay, we have, let's just do, we also have Susan, so let's do two more. I'll be as quick as I can. We'll do Luba and then Susan, okay?
Okay, on a different subject.
Yeah.
Recently, I listened to a podcast where the Russian writer, he writes historic fiction. His name is Boris Akunin. He was asked what he thinks about the current world situation, and he compared it with a bus and Donald Trump at the steering wheel. What can you compare the current world with now?
Yeah. The Middle Ages. It's really frightening. And I have to say, we should be at a place in this world where we're all reading Russian novelists and Chinese novelists, and they're reading American. I mean, we're so closely bound, and Russia has such an amazingly beautiful, rich history. So does China. So does Iran. There's so much beauty and wisdom to discover in the world, and instead, we're putting in these nut jobs these authoritarians who don't care about humanity, who just want to keep fighting with each other over differences that should not make a difference. And that is medieval. You know, that's what created the 100 years or more of religious warfare. It was just ideological warfare that beat everybody up until they just said, we're so tired, let's give peace a chance. And I hate to think we have to get that beat up before we say, let's give peace a chance. But I honor the country of your birth. I think it's got so much beauty and history in it that we should be celebrating, not fearing. Yeah, so Susan, one more and then I don't want to keep you from the lasagna.
Yeah, it smells very good.
Oh, did you have what? Okay, so two more quickies. Huh? 3 more? Okay. Okay.
No pressure.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my question is a little bit on that line. With Pete Hegseth and Christian right theology and dogma getting into our government and the words of people in the government, I always thought that we had a veil of protection, those of us who are of liberal religions, that, well, at least, you know, we have a wall. And now that's broken. And I'm wondering, from the level of clergy around this country, are you seeing any movement or conversations or initiation of a wide variety of more liberal religions and clergy talking to each other about how we can combat this in a more collaborative and vocal way? I just feel so helpless and scared when I hear that language. And I'm just wondering, from kind of a clergy level, religious level in this country, what are you seeing?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. I'm probably the wrong person to ask that question because I'm not seeing much as a minister. As you know, I'm excommunicato, so I would first of all say the broken system is broken, right? That's the shift. That's the shift that's happened right now. Our broken, dysfunctional system is now broken and dysfunctional. So, and what I mean by that is, yeah, we've had, as Plato warned years ago, is the risk of democracy, having a public put in a populist, and it just so happens that populist is conjoined with a unified government that allows him to get away with murder by not doing their jobs, right? And that's the system we have right now, and there's great fear that we're not going to be able to go back. I don't think we will be able to go back. Some of you might have saw an article in the paper today, I think, where it's like Democrats are thinking they might become the lower taxes party. You see that? I mean, it'd be remarkable, right? There's a shift that's happening because really largely because the world is shifting. And so much of how we've been doing things doesn't make sense anymore, including here in America. I mean, for one thing, it's been gridlocked for decades, right? The system is you vote for a disunified government so nobody can do anything. That's usually what happens. And then you get a unified government and you realize nobody can do anything, right? Because they don't know how. So that's pretty pessimistic. But I think what the good that will come of this, and you're seeing it in the poll numbers now, right, is that people are realizing that we cannot go on like this. And politicians are also realizing we can't go back to what's usual. We actually have to make real changes in how we govern ourselves. So I think we're on the precipice of a political shift in this country that is going to happen towards the end of this decade, and that will hopefully lead to a position of flourishing, not only for this country, but for the world. You know, you can't, you know, we shouldn't be striving to make one country great again because we can't do that. We're not one country anymore. That world is gone. We're a global community. And we just don't have the language or the systems to facilitate and to support that system. And I think the Donald Trumps and the Ayatollahs and the Putins, these are all people that are part of a waning class that is desperate to cling to something that is already dissipated. So, yes.
Heiling Lebrecht. I want to go back to the sermon from last Sunday, and I really appreciated the AI. It was great. It was impressive. But I recommend people watch the sermon because of the message. I found it to be very, very powerful, and I want to thank you.
Thank you. I so appreciate that. Yeah, that story was it was so profoundly moving to me years ago, and I have always wanted to share it in some way that people would grasp that, and last Sunday was very meaningful. So,
Do you have time for one more?
Let's do one more, and then we're going to have to, because the cooks are in the kitchen, and there's too many of them. They're going to kill me if we don't move forward. So,
I'm Gordon Diddens, and I was going to ask you, which may be a little bit longer than we probably want to do, what your thoughts are of the Trump and Pope.
Oh, the Trump and the Pope. I can be fairly quick about that. I have no thoughts about it. No, I will tell you what disturbs me about that incident, right? I mean, it's a complete joke that Trump would create this AI image, or whoever, of him as Jesus. I mean, it's just part of his preposterous stuff, you know. I don't really care. It doesn't surprise me that he does it. It's not a big deal. What really bothers me, and it's prompted actually a sermon that I'll be giving in December on crushing superstition, right? That was the principle that this church was founded upon in 1887. That's what its bylaws said. Our purpose is to crush superstition. And that was the dream. That was what people assumed was going to happen before the end of the 20th century. Even John Dietrich, who was a early 20th century minister, talked a lot about that happening. It didn't happen. And now the most disturbing commentary I have heard is the news media, mainstream news media, arguing whether or not the president committed blasphemy. I mean, this is something I imagine happening in some of the smallest, most rigid fundamentalist Muslim countries that exist in the world today, right? We're talking about condemning somebody for committing blasphemy. That's scary. That's disturbing. So my thoughts are, I need to do a sermon about this. So more to be said. More to be said. But listen. Oh. Are you waving, or do you really? You want to ask? Okay, I'm going to give you one more question. Oh, Tom's going to bring the microphone. Just make it quick if you can.
So my question is that my major concern, which you also voiced one time, is climate change.
Mm-hmm.
And how are we going to deal with addressing this as Unitarians, but also because our entire society has gone back. I mean, the Trump organization, they're just rescinding every environmental law there is. What can we do to change people's minds so that it becomes in the front of their minds?
Move to another country. Well, I would just say that most of the world understands climate change is real. And most Americans understand climate change is real. It is just one party that is gaslighting us on a routine basis and trying to, and yes, the country that is responsible for much of the pollution and much of the damage to the environment is the one that is doing nothing because of a very rigid party that wants to keep things the way they are and therefore is pretending none of this is happening. We can't change that until we change our government, and I think that is something that is going to happen. And I also would say that things are at the point now where we're going to have to take extra measures in order to correct the damage that we've done. We're going to have to live in a state of heat and fire and the stuff we're living in for probably a few decades. But some of the technology that is coming online is going to help us do a course correction, and I believe it is the only means. It's going to be not the only means, but it must be part of the means by which we correct the damage that we've done. A lot of people don't want to hear that; they disagree. That's okay, but I think that we're going to come through this. We will adapt, we will adjust, and we will get a hold of this thing. But yeah, we have to. Something has to happen in the U.S. in order for us to face this problem intelligently and productively. Okay, let's just go have lunch. Can we do that? Let's just go have lunch. Thank you.
Lunch, that sounds like a good next step.
Yeah, yeah.
Question, right?